In a few moments, you will have an experience which will seem completely real. It will be the result of your subconscious fears transformed to your conscious awareness. You have 5 seconds to terminate this tape. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to another BG-Cast Wednesday live podcast. I am also sitting here with my lovely co-host, Dyanna, aka Transcending Ascension. And we have a pretty amazing show ready to go for you guys tonight. But first, before we get to that, I want to thank all of the new subscribers over on Rumble and YouTube. Thank you so much for joining the BG-Cast family, where we all learn together. Despite the fact that myself and Dyanna have been looking into this stuff and living this for quite some time, we're still learning. We will never claim to know everything. We will never say that we have all the answers, and that is the premise here. Figuring this out together, undergoing this very interesting temporary human ride and experience all together, unified. Alrighty, guys, before we hop into everything that we have tonight, I want to talk about some of the people I sponsor. Of course, my lovely co-host here, who I sponsor as well. So let's bring up her page here. Alrighty, guys. So, guys, I want you to go ahead over to her website, which is both located in the Rumble and the YouTube description. And if you guys are looking for kids' books to read your children at night or during the daytime that are actually spiritually enriching, that help our children start to gain a foundational basis of the divine nature of this reality and their own divine nature as well, I highly recommend you guys head over to Transcending Ascension shop, and you get A is for Ascension. This is the ABCs of metaphysics for children and adults to enjoy. So this is not just for kids to enjoy. For all the spiritual parents out there, you will enjoy these books as well. And then also she has the Tiny Superhero, Aiden, which is actually named after her youngest son, which is really cool. And it kind of also builds a foundational basis for the spiritual nature of this reality and helping kids develop that knowledge from a young age that they are the divine source incarnated, a subjective focal point of the universal consciousness. So, guys, if you are looking for spiritually enriching books to read your kids and that you yourself can enjoy too, I highly recommend you head over to Transcending Ascension store and you pick up her books and help support the New Earth community. Alrighty, guys. I also have Divine Creation Gifts. How could we forget them? So if you guys are done with the big box crystal shops and you want to support a local homegrown crystal shop that is based out of West Virginia, head on over to Divine Creation Gifts. Their links are also in both the YouTube and the Rumble description. And you will get a free shipping on orders over $50 with this free ship code 50. And orders over 100 receive an automatic 25% discount through the new year. And guys, go ahead and give her store a look me up. She actually just got in some new doormats. Behold, the field in which I grow my fucks, lay thine eyes upon it, and it is barren. As well as a very interesting crystal collection she has. And yes, if you're looking for anything outside of the ordinary, whether you want some apothecary items or some herbal items, some tools and supplies for your spiritual crafts and crystals and jewelry, head on over to Divine Creation Gifts, guys. This is how we break away from the false matrix system. This is how we start to put our dollars towards what we want to see grow, not just this system that we're trying to break away from. Also, I highly recommend you go check out her sister project, Earthborn the Remembering. It is on YouTube. Go ahead and give her a follow and a subscribe for me. That would be awesome. And then last but not least, we have the pioneer of New Earth Entertainment, my friend David the Lion. Let's pull him up here. Guys, I highly recommend if you are looking for PSYOP-free and propaganda-free entertainment, you go ahead and check out The Lion. I have his link tree in both the Rumble and the YouTube descriptions to these videos. He has an amazing comic book series, The Lion of God. It is available on Kindle if you want to check it out, but I highly recommend you guys buy the comic itself. It is a super sweet first edition. We have it actually on the shelf back here. And yes, you would be supporting New Earth Entertainment. And he has been on the Spotlight Network. He was interviewed about his comic, bringing spiritual archetypes back into entertainment. And of course, his short film, Dear Lilith, I Love You, has won awards at film festivals, and actually was up at a film festival the other weekend as well, guys. So like I said, if you're looking for PSYOP-free and propaganda-free entertainment, something that will enrich you spiritually and open your mind to the possibilities that this existence has to offer, I would definitely support David and head on over to his link tree and check it out. Alrighty, guys, so kind of diving straight into business. As you saw, the title of this episode are The Attributes of Divine Teachers. And this has to do with a lot of us starseeds and us angel seeds here that have decided to incarnate here. Remember, we chose to be here at this point in time to help facilitate the expansion of the collective consciousness here on Earth and to help elevate the frequency of this planet as well. And this actually comes from A Course in Miracles. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So we've talked about A Course in Miracles on this show before. So Dyanna, why don't you take it off and kind of describe to everybody where we're going with this?
So it's a good chunk of the characteristics or the attributes of what make a teacher a teacher. Now, we've paraphrased a lot of the attributes when we go through the descriptions because some of them are very lengthy. As we know, the book is enormous, and it is just filled with that information that your soul will just resonate as knowing more of. And it is the thing. It's not dogma. It's not the end all be all. But if you're looking for a solid book that has a good chunk of what you need to awaken to your true higher self, this is the book for you.
And I would definitely agree with her on that. Being as I have read it myself and I have gone through the material myself, I do say it could very well be a guideline. I've even had Dyanna and Sam on the show to talk about this before. It could be a guideline for this current age we're in. And you guys have heard me say multiple times, we need to expand upon the spiritualities of old. We need to stop looking in the past for the answers. We need to start looking within, and we need to start integrating our experience into these spiritual teachings that we are undergoing right now. We've talked about removing the spiritual escapist mindset. Phil, good to see you, man. Thanks for being here. We talked about getting out of the spiritual escapist mindset, and let me just kind of touch on what that is really quickly. We see everybody escape society and flee to the monasteries, or flee to like isolation, and attempt to escape the human experience that we're here choosing to be in. Ultimately, what I feel though is we need to bring heaven to earth. We need to integrate the pleroma or the heavenly realms or our higher consciousness, our higher self into this existence and put it forth into every facet of our being and everything that we do in this world. That, at least in our eyes, is true ascension. So nonetheless, let's get it queued up. Let's go through it. I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to resonate with this material. So let me go ahead and pull it up. Alrighty, guys. So right now we have the attributes of divine teachers, part 1. AKA Starseeds and Angelseeds. So one of the first things we're going to get into is trust. So trust, cause and effect are never separated. The teachers of God have trust in the world because they have learned it is not governed by the laws the world made up. It is governed by a power that is in them that runs through all. This process begins with spiritual alchemy. So, Dyanna, what does that mean to you? Let's kind of break that.
So the book will go through and basically describe alchemy in this part of the book. It will describe, as a teacher of God, first and foremost comes trust in the divine. And it describes that process of gaining that trust as literally the alchemical process. You will live under something. It will not resonate with your soul. You'll go through the pain of should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? And that right there is that cooking beaker of alchemy. And in the end, if you're on that alchemical path, choosing your highest path, it might not be the easiest thing to pick that answer, but it will feel alchemy. You will feel alchemized. And when you come out of it, you will feel a stronger trust with the divine. You will feel more solidified with your higher self, and guides and all such likes will now be coming to you louder and just be more present in your life. And it's through that process of alchemy that we all should very well know about. I know this channel talks about it a lot. It's one of the things both of us teach a lot about, because it is first and foremost in a spiritual path is that alchemy, going through the pain, learning the lessons, through the pain, learning the lessons, coming out with that higher trust of the divine. As you go through each and every painful lesson, you realize afterwards you are birthed new and better each and every time. And that's where next time you step into that alchemical lesson, it might be your 25th alchemical lesson in this path knowingly, but now you're going to be like, okay, God, I feel like I'm in pain, but I trust you. And there now you open an entirely new level as God's teacher in trust. You're still going to go through things, but you're going through it with divine trust.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And before we get to what I think, I kind of want to bring up something Phil said real quick. He says, to be honest, I've been feeling challenged lately. Want to move out of this busy, loud, crazy city. Oh, man, I'm going to tell you what, a lot of us are feeling challenged lately, man. I completely understand and empathize and resonate with what you're saying. I've called right now almost, it's almost like a metaphysical vice a little bit. I think we're kind of, we're going through a growing period. For those who are on our spiritual evolution, we're going through a very interesting growing period. Our trust is being challenged, our patience is being challenged, and this might even kind of go into a episode I was thinking we could do next week. You know, what does being anointed mean? Mm-hmm. And this is a side conversation. We can get into it maybe after we're done at the end of the show, but a lot of the times when we go through an anointing process, sometimes things get a little interesting. So yes, Phil, I just wanted to say that I resonate with you, man. It has been very interesting lately for a lot of us. So while I agree with Dyanna said, yes, it's through the spiritual alchemy process that we begin to develop that trust in the divine. And one of the things I was actually talking about too is even kind of taking a life rewind. And I don't think a lot of people do this. And I do think this is something that is good to do. Hey, Stone, good to see you. Go back and look at all of those challenging times that you've had in your life, whether it be 5 years ago, whether it be 10 years ago. And especially if you're not currently in a challenging time in your life right now, you'll be able to look at it from an objective standpoint. And what you'll begin to see when you do this, kind of giving yourself this little life review almost, or this past review up into the present point, is you will begin to see that the divine was involved in this. And you'll begin to see how you were almost in some ways kind of pushed and guided towards these certain areas of your life that maybe needed to be addressed, or the certain situations that were meant to heal you, transmute you, and bring you further in your evolution to get to a place where you can actually live in a higher timeline, and you could live working towards your highest self, your most joyful, abundant self. I guarantee you're going to see this if you do this. So that's kind of where the trust comes into play. Because, we've talked about this on this show a lot. We talked about it on Church of True Christ a lot. Having that trust and faith in the unknown. And sometimes I get it. It's easier said than done. Mm-hmm. But look at all the times in the past. That is the one thing I can say to everybody. And of course, we don't always look to the past. But for this occasion, I would say you look back every time you've been kind of thrust into the unknown or into these challenging times. That you will see that you were nudged and you were almost guided by your higher self to get to where you are today. Mm-hmm. Another thing I want to bring up, which I find very interesting about this as well, let me pull this back up real quick. So this even kind of describes our awakening experience, because the teachers of God have trust in the world because they have learned it is not governed by the laws the world made up. It is governed by a power that is in them that runs through all. And this is actually a key part of our initial our initial awakening experience, because that's something we find out. We come to realize that the way the world has been presented to us, in the consensual, the mainstream concept, the way that the world has been presented to us and how it works, is not the way it truly is, or how it works at all. And this is actually a catalyst that kind of ignites that spark that we came here with. That divine spark, whether it be starseed, angel seed, whatever you wish to call it, this catalyst ignites this, and it causes a synthesis within our subconscious and conscious mind that kind of throws us forth into stepping into this teacher of God space within us all. So that was something I just kind of wanted to bring up too, to add to what you were saying. But yes, of course, Phil just kind of added in, we can't avoid these challenges. I know they are to shine light on what needs addressing. Absolutely, man. And like I said, trust me, I'm human too. Dyanna's human too. We have those oh shit moments. You know what I mean? Like, even when we're going through something challenging, or we feel like we're being energetically compressed, we still have those moments. But one of the most important things that we can do is sit there, take a breath, center ourselves, and understand that there is a underlying purpose for this. There is something that is going to come out of this on the other side. So ultimately, yes, that's just what I wanted to add.
Yeah, and there's validity in leaving the city, and both of us have now, because I came out here 5 years ago, and now here he is now safely in the country, because base level, we're empaths. And as our auric fields increase and our powers increase, so does our sensitivity for that around us. So if you're living in a city or even a town that's badly populated with negative vibes, which most cities, or probably all cities, are going to be, you have to choose your battle there. Now, you can stay and tough it out, but it is going to be harder. Or you can move to the country or a less populated or more pleasant area and find your auric field in just a better space where it can breathe, you can breathe, and you can ascend more authentically as yourself and know what's your thoughts and what's not. I know in the city, when I was there, it was much harder.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's move on to the next one. Yeah, guys, I figured you all would enjoy this because we can all resonate with this, especially what's going on. So, and this will finish up the last part, and we'll come to peak at the point of give up what you do not want and keep what you do. Absolutely. Getting rid of things that no longer service us. And now we have honesty. All other traits of God's teachers rest on trust. Once that has been achieved, the others cannot fail to follow. Only the trusting can afford honesty, for only they can see its value. Honesty does not apply only to what you say. The term actually means consistency. There should be nothing you say that contradicts what you think or do. No thought opposes any other thoughts. So, Dyanna, what does this mean to you?
So this was a very powerful one with me, because I suffered a lot with multiple thoughts, even when this is what reined me in as being toxically positive years ago, because why was I still having so much conflict? And this is where you really need to look at yourself and your own thoughts. And this is where you learn you cannot force yourself into toxic positivity. Sure, you can try to find the best out of every situation, but you cannot make it up, and you cannot deny your own feelings. Because right there, you were creating dishonesty on yourself. And even such with a friend. Like if somebody says something like, oh, I'm going to do this, I hope that's okay with you, right? Especially here in Canada, that's the thing. Oh, yeah, sure, no problem, right? Except it is a problem. Now you need to learn language to describe your feelings, and all of humanity is at this point where we need to learn to say our truths, but politely. We need to learn to say our truths authentically, and we need to learn to say our truths also with the open platform that that person can say their truth back, and then therefore go back and forth with truths which him and I had practice at this back when we were even still friends. And we learned to just have that dialogue, working together, doing shows together. You're going to come into things where, I don't really agree with that. And we could people please and say, oh, that's fine. But there you go with that dissonance you have now created with dishonesty inside yourself and in that relationship, because they're going to pick up on it energetically. We are all empathic, starseed, angel seed people. You can try to people please all you want, but they're going to pick up on it. It's going to create dissonance in your relationship. Whatever the platform is for your relationship, if it's a friend, coworker, acquaintance, neighbor, doesn't matter, guy that cut you off on the street, you have to be honest, and especially with yourself about your feelings, your thoughts, and just absolutely everything. And we do want to try to make everything have a clean and positive lens, but that's a fine-tuning game where it's always completely authentic as well. And you can acknowledge the lower feelings, allow the sadness, which is an alchemical process, but still find the light at the end of the tunnel. So it's a whole way of being and living, and it's why that trust comes first.
Absolutely. And I'm going to add on that. Let me address something Phil said real quick. No, Phil, we are not religious. And we're definitely.
I am a minister, but
she's
no.
a metaphysical minister. But no, we are not religious. We are just. God is just for you being used as a term here.
Yeah.
For the sake of being
source, the divine, the all. I'm more, if anything, a Kabbalist. It's the all.
Absolutely. And so no, absolutely what Dyanna was saying here too. And it's honesty with yourself. I've said so many times on this show that we get stuck on both ends of the spectrum. We can be our own biggest critics or our own biggest cheerleaders. And really it's finding that balance in between the two. Some people, are kind of stuck in the biggest critic aspect of themselves, which I can understand. I have been there. Sometimes I gravitate there myself as well. But you have to learn where to give yourself credit where credit's due, and at times also be your biggest cheerleader. And what that is going to take is it's going to take the undoing of some programming. Of course, like we were talking about on my episode last week, how my mom was feeling guilty about charging this person this. It was her programming. And a lot of us growing up, being Starseeds, Angelseeds, have had it beat into us that we're not good enough, or we need to be hypercritical of ourselves, or we're this, we're that. Like, so many things have been programmed into us from such a young age. And so that's why when we start to have that trust, we can start to implement that honesty when it comes to ourselves and the world around us. So I just wanted to add that in there as well. All right, let's move on to the next one. Honesty. Such are the truly honest. At no level are they in conflict with themselves. Therefore, it is impossible for them to be in conflict with anyone or anything. The peace of mind, which the advanced teachers of God experience, is largely due to their perfect honesty. It is only the wish to deceive that makes for war. No one at one with themselves can conceive of conflict. Conflict is the inevitable result of self-deception, and self-deception is dishonesty. All right, before we get into the next one, I actually have a little bit of a story. I'm going to talk about this. So I actually have deceived myself quite a few times in my life, especially in my earlier phases of my spiritual evolution. Of course, one of the biggest things that a lot of us have come to realize is that we have a very hard time meshing with the consensual population. No matter what we try, no matter what we do, when we try to mesh in or blend in, it ultimately causes a disservice to ourselves, and it dims our authenticity. And there were times that I tried to do that, and it honestly started to bring out the worst in me. as I would do this, I would try to be friends with who we would call normies or things like that, or try to think I could take them under my wing, try to coach them, try to help them. And it did. It caused that dissonance. It almost caused that war within myself. And it caused me to not act right in a lot of ways. And I would have to sit there and I have to think, like, what is wrong with me? This is not me. Why am I acting this way? You know what I mean? And why am I having these feelings? Whether you have to be analytical when it comes to this kind of stuff. And then I would realize, oh, wait, I'm dimming my authenticity because I'm trying to either blend in or I'm trying to take these people under my wing who may not want to hear this message, who may be okay with being part of the regular population and doing regular people things and things like that. So that was actually a story I wanted to share with everybody where I did deceive myself and I kept trying to blend, not necessarily blend in, but try to be friends with the ones we call normies, because I thought maybe I could help wake them up. And that is just something, and I'm not saying don't.
A lot of us share that, I think, where we've tried, right?
Yeah, where we've tried.
Trying to be the shepherd, but they can drag you down, and you have to be careful. And
Absolutely.
you have to be able to do it completely authentically.
Do you have a story about this too?
Many. When I joined the church and I was trying to fit in, thinking I was doing it for the better good, slipping in metaphysical information when I teach about the Bible, because I taught Sunday school there. And I had adults that were interested in the learning, but I always had to pepper it. I always had to, I had a nanny here that I worked with for years, and I was working with her too, trying to get her open because I knew she was an empath starseed, opening her up to that. Obviously, both of our exes, we both tried to bring them along with us and tried all of our family and friends. Like, we all try to hold on to those people, but you just can't. If they are unwilling, or if you have to bend the self to have that relationship, then it's dishonest. It's dissonance.
And like I said too, shortchanging your own evolution and your own happiness here in this existence is doing a disservice to yourself. It is. And I know a lot of us, we have those attachments, we have those familial ties, we have, those, whether it be romantic ties too. I can't tell you how many people in this community I've spoken to who have had difficulty with partners. Because they were evolving faster and the partners either did not believe what they were going through, or did not honor it, or did not respect it. And yet a lot of these people still chose to stay for whatever reason it is. And in my eyes, that was that's shortchanging your own happiness here. And here's the thing, guys, this is a very temporary human experience. Our experience here is not permanent. So why would you want to go through that during this time and in this experience where you chose to be here?
One could tell themselves, because it's temporary. I did the same thing. Yeah. I'll see you next life. I tried to do that. I'll see you next life. Because this life was already set up. It was set up pretty nicely. I did great. I manifested everything I thought I wanted. Check. Life was done. I'll see you next life. Except that's not the way. It won't accept that.
It's not the way. It's not the way. And all right, so let's move on to the next thing here. Let me pull it up. Yeah, thanks, Phil. I appreciate it, man. Of course, though,
it is more overall platforms.
Of course, Phil. Everybody wants to go down the rabbit holes, man. Everybody wants the newest conspiracy, which actually is funny because there's no new conspiracies. They all are just being revamped.
AI Atlas, let's talk about that.
Yeah, no, we're not pissing Phil off because Phil's we already know Phil's opinions on 3i Atlas, and the majority of the people in this chat, how they feel about 3i Atlas and how we both feel about 3i Atlas. So we're not going to do that. All right, let's move into the next one real quick. Hey, Mom, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Phil's cracking up because he knows. He knows. So, all right. So we have tolerance. Okay. Judgment implies a lack of tolerance and a lack of trust, and trust remains the bedrock of the teacher, of God's whole thought system. Let this be lost, and all his learning is gone. Without human judgment, all things are equally acceptable. For who could judge otherwise? Without judgment, all humans are one. For who is there? Who stands apart? Judgment destroys honesty and shatters trust. No teacher of God can judge and hope to learn. Note, judgment is separate from personal discernment. Okay, so let's kind of go over this a little bit, because this is something I think we should clarify on, because let's kind of Dyanna, let's go down the differences between judgment and personal discernment. Let's start with you.
Well, funny enough, I just did a little with the AI Atlas people. That was, a little judgy.
Yeah.
But yeah, bad me. But so discernment, though, is me seeing this and going and feeling the dissonance, how that's not of my higher alignment, how that's not of my higher intellect, how that's not of my higher mind. And we're always going higher when we're looking at these things. We want to assess the lower, but we're looking to the higher for what the true answer is, because we are a they. We have many selves. Some are more noticeable than others, but ultimately you will disagree with yourself, and that's okay if you're aiming with the highest. So discernment, which I love Sarah for, because she brought that to us so perfectly and made that clear as day. She's at episode after episode describing the difference. And the difference is simply higher. Discernment is knowing what's of the soul. Discernment is knowing what's true, honest, and of resonance for your soul, where judgment is more personal. That's like my mind, my ego thinks that's silly and stupid. My mind and ego think that's not okay. So it's coming from my programs when I'm judging you. It's out of my human matrix programs, whatever the many variations we have of false around us that creates the lived situation we have, which we're always going to have a matrix. That's one thing people need to comprehend, is that full enlightenment. If you want to aim for that, that's fine. But more realistically, and what we shoot for, is just constant ascension, raising, Carl Jung version of ascension, which is just the human aiming higher and higher and higher and higher. And that's done with discernment over all the many paths. But when you are in judgment, it's coming from petty programmings, essentially, and it will have dissonance all around it.
Absolutely. Let me address what Phil said here. I definitely try not to judge, but I do go through phases of doing well and not judging. But other times I feel myself judging. I'm far from perfect. I do work on self, though. What a journey. So one of the things I'm going to say about this, Phil, because yes, we are not perfect. We are human, is keep it internal if you're going to do this. And what I mean by keeping it internal, so when we're having a bad day, Jason, what's up, man? Good to see you. When we're having a bad day, right? We're allowed to have a bad day, right? But we are not allowed to take that bad day out on others. That's not what we want to do. All right. So, and I mean, this is something I see all across the board when it comes to, the normal population of humanity. And I've dealt with it at work more times than I can count. Well, somebody comes in and they're having a bad day, something's going on with them, and they take it out on the entire world around them. Okay. And this seems to be a constant in normal human society. I've always been of the premise that if you're not the one that kicked me in the balls on my way to work, why am I going to be mad at you for anything that has nothing to do with you? It's my own issue. It's my own problem. So same thing. You're going to have judgmental thoughts, man. We're human. All right. But as long as you're not projecting those judgmental thoughts outward and you're having self-awareness of that, then that's better. Of course, we want to do our best with our thoughts. And of course, we want to try to keep them in a as good of a frequency of others. No, of course, I know you don't, dude. I know you don't take it out on others. That's just something I'm laying down for everybody. Of course, I've had days that have been so bad where I've sat there, and I've kind of almost yelled in my car a little bit while I'm driving. I've been pissed off and I vented it to myself. But in the spiritual evolution, at least from what I've seen, that type of behavior, although we want to try to not do that, that's not as bad as projecting that out towards others. So yeah, no, I definitely know you don't do that, man. Of course, we're going to have these thoughts. We're going to have these things. We're not perfect. What we do is we have awareness of that, and we do our best to grow from these thoughts, analyze these thoughts, find out where that's coming from within us that is casting that judgment. I mean, even kind of just what we said about the 3-eye atlas thing. You know, I'm just going to sum it up with this: the difference between judging and personal discernment. Personal discernment is looking at the 3-eye atlas narrative and going, "Hey, that's not for me." Okay, that's personal discernment. Judging and would be looking at the 3-eye atlas narrative and who believe in looking at somebody going, you're ridiculous for believing that. How could you believe that? So yes, no, that's the difference, at least in my eyes. So let's move to the next one. You ready? Let's do it. All right, so we have the next one coming up here. We have gentleness.
I think this is our final one, too.
And gentleness is going to be our final one, and then we'll do kind of a discussion at the end. Harm is the outcome of judgment. It is the dishonest act that follows a dishonest thought. It is a verdict of guilt upon another, and therefore on oneself. It is the end of peace and the denial of learning. It demonstrates the absence of God's curriculum and its replacement by insanity. Harmfulness completely obliterates one function from one's awareness. It will make one confused, fearful, angry, and suspicious. It will make the divine's lessons impossible to learn. God's teachers are wholly gentle. They need the strength of gentleness, for it is in this that the functions of salvation become easy. Who would choose the weakness that must come from harm in place of the unfailing, all-encompassing, limitless strength of gentleness? The might of God's teachers lies in their gentleness, for they have understood their evil thought came neither from themselves or the divine. Trusting in the divine means trusting your own pure source nature. Alrighty, guys, so that's going to wrap it up on that. But let's discuss gentleness for a second. Dyanna, why don't you lead us off on that?
Well, we ended up touching in it on the end of the last one. So, like, gentleness is realizing that, like, those judgment clouds, those overwhelmed clouds, those negative thought clouds are quite literally creating a permeable cloud. Like, they're quite literally creating like a visceral, like, plasma structure around you, which is something I'm super diving into, which plasma is like the next thing from physical, like that is a substantial substance. That's what we're feeling affected by things. Happened.
Oh, we had a freeze. We're back.
Okay, we're on my internet. So yeah, so plasma, actual structure. Imagine this negative cloud as very extremely real, because it is, and you created it with your negative thoughts. Okay, now that's okay. Don't shame and blame yourself, but in gentleness, you sit in that experience. Though Stephen's actually witnessed it, because I'm a very fiery person. I get very mad very quickly. So he's seen me like just scream. And then all of a sudden he'll talk to me. I'm like, yes. And it's not fake. And I'm like, oh, I'm perfectly fine. This is just not working, you know, and just watch how I step out of that cloud and I could talk to him. I'm still feeling the cloud. It's still there, but I'm not affecting him with it. I'm trying not to anyways. I'm not shooting it at him. I'm not letting it taint how I speak to him. And I know the difference of this borderline personality disorder. Once upon a time, that cloud, I would just automatically shoot that at people because I felt that cloud and it was my existence and I didn't know how to see outside of it. But now I know, as we learn about layers and personality and just what ascension and alchemy will do for you in raising your own vibration, is now I'm still feeling the same cloud. But I've learned how to live beyond it, how to help it, because that'll just naturally help it dissolve when you're not shooting it at other people. That is harm right there. Because when you speak to someone, it should be from pure source divinity. Even if you have to have a hard conversation with him, even if you have to say something like you're upset with them about that for whatever reason, you can find a place where you dissolve that cloud to speak to them from your truest heart. And that might be sad. Sad is not harming. And if they're the kind of person that's mad that you're sad, that's on them, and they have their own borderline personality to deal with, because that's their own thing. If you're genuinely sad, that's okay to express to someone. Even if you're genuinely angry, but you're just saying you're angry and you're not shooting it at them, that's different, because we're really hitting a new layer of humanity where we need to really learn to talk to each other authentically, honestly, but without harm. And we all disagree on a lot of things. There's no single person in this world who have 100% everything in order with. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So we need to be able to have these discussions without harm, which is why you take the judgment out of it. After that, you should only be left with the gentleness that'll naturally come from that trusting, honest, divine nature that you will be channeling in when we are living in that higher place.
I completely agree. And even talking about harm, I kind of brought it up earlier, the trying to wake people up. This kind of even falls into that a little bit as well. Because there was a time, this is kind of where I get from it. Like I've told you guys on this channel many times. In the beginning, when I first woke up, I was the guy screaming at the roof, on the top of my roof with a megaphone. Did you know fluoride's in your water? Did you know our currency's fake? Did you know the medical system is trying to kill you? All of these different things. And I would almost go to war with people. I would try to debate people. I would, I would even like almost attack them personally in a lot of ways to try to wake them up and to make them realize everything that's going on. But I was not being gentle back then. And that was one of the biggest lessons that I had to come to learn, was that when we're approaching this message with people, and we're having these conversations, we do have to take into consideration, she will be back in just a sec. We do have to take into consideration, the opinions and feelings of others, because one of the biggest things I've talked about here, and it's been a balance for me as well, is because I'm very to the point. I'm very honest when it comes to certain things, but I have had to find a way to be gentle with my honesty, especially when it comes to myself, and especially when talking to myself. So that's where I think gentleness lies when we're speaking about this, is learning to have these conversations, learning to deliver this message, and learning to deliver these teachings in a way that is leading a horse to water, but not forcing that horse to drink, but also kind of showing that horse how awesome and cold that water is. Leading by example. That's going to be the best way to implement gentleness, because then you're not forcing anything on anybody. You're not rubbing it and shoving it in their face, because other people are also entitled to have their own viewpoints as well, as much as we might disagree with those viewpoints, and they might not be for us. So ultimately, guys, this was going to be the lesson for tonight. Of course, like I was telling you all before, we are going to do these teaching episodes a little bit shorter than our guest episodes. But next week, we will be doing a guest episode. I will be having Francis McDunn on the show. We will be closing off season 3 with him. So we'll be back for a little bit of a longer one yet again. Phil, I'm going to address what you said right now. Yep, gentleness. That's something I've been practicing too. I'm a gentle man, but my passion gets confused with aggressiveness sometimes. So I've worked on that. Oh no, dude, I completely understand. I completely resonate with that too, because of my passion. My passion has come off as aggressiveness at times as well. And she is returning. She had to go handle the kids real quick. So here she comes. So yeah, I was just kind of rounding up the show for tonight about gentleness. But other than that, guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode. We hope it was helpful. And we're not pushing A Course in Miracles on anybody, but I highly recommend you guys give it a go. I guarantee you a lot of you out there are going to have a very profound, deep resonance with what this book has to say. And while, yes, it does use things that might seem Christian-like, it is very open. It's not rigid in its structure at all.
And if you know about the Kabbalah and the Kabbalion, you know they knew too.
All right, we're back. So we had to freeze up. No, but as she was saying, yes, they did know. But other than that, guys, thanks for joining us for this BG Cast Wednesday live podcast, this little bit of a teaching show as we've been doing lately. And like I said, we will be back next week. I'm going to have Francis McDunn on to close off season 3. And then season 4 of BG Cast begins in January. And of course, guys, like I said, we're getting back to solo shows. We're getting back to teaching shows as well. We will still do guests, just not as much. I do want to get back to the roots, which had me start this channel to begin with. And of course, I will be joined by my lovely companion here, Transcending Ascension, Dyanna Marie, for a lot of these teaching episodes. It will just be me on the guest episodes. So other than that, guys, you all have a great night. And of course, you know what we say here on BG Cast: stay safe, stay free, have that personal sovereignty and that personal agency. And I'm not telling you to avoid the sex robots anymore, because a couple of people in the chat went and got some. So again, we're just going to say stay away from Japanese grok, and have yourselves a very good night, everybody. Take care.
Collectively together, you were born to rotate with the crowd. You were born to sync with the sacred spiral. The Hercules stream is proof. The cosmos hummers the divergent. BG-Cast brings us that Hercules energy. It's here to save the day. You won't stay lost in the dark. Here is your shot with BG kept beside you. Can we rise alone?